Okay, we're going to continue right on with the chapter 10, which is our Do It chapter for massage specifically. Now we're going to learn how to apply massage methods and techniques, and let's get right at it. So first, what I want to do is show you Canvas. And we're going to get down here to chapter 10, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so we have our chapter test that you have to do and post to your grade book. These are all your study helps. And then here are your videos that go with the textbook. So there's a full protocol here that the expectation is that you watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it. Watch it on fast forward. Watch it without the audio on. Watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it. This is the first area that we are going to drill. This will be your foundation. Now, this isn't the only right way to do it, but it's a good way. And then once you get confident here, then you can vary. These go through here and talk about individual massage applications. So you'll want to spend some time on these. And then we also have a really good video here on adapting to a mat as well as seated massage. So here are your how-to videos. In addition, I'm going to show you the YouTube channel. And this should be familiar to you. Here are all of your lecture guidelines for each of the chapters. This is a bunch of demos here. So compare and contrast, and Luke and I will be adding to these as well. So compare and contrast what you're finding in the textbook and then on Canvas with the videos that went with the textbook to what's here. These are a little more current, so that might reflect a few little changes that have occurred. Here's your body mechanics. Here's all the massage manipulations and techniques. This goes with chapter 10. Draping and positioning, which is the one we just finished. So do use these especially since we're in these Do It chapters now, okay? All right, so let's get out of that and let's look at the book. So here's your massage manipulations and techniques. Just like the last one, this is more just highlighting what's going on with the chapter. This will be what we will concentrate on in the classroom and what you need to practice, 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 and then practice some more. So the quality of touch talks to you a little bit about stuff that we've mentioned back in the research chapter, expanded on how we actually set the intention for each individual client. And then the mechanics, the real mechanics of applying these various massage methods. Then we move on to methods that involve movement, and then some intervention techniques here. And so there is a difference. There's assessment and intervention. So your full body massage that you're going to learn as your general protocol is going to have massage methods and joint movement involved with it. But in addition to those supporting just a generalized approach to massage and generalized relaxation and well-being and generalized movement, all those things that does, each of those moves is also an assessment procedure. You're going to be feeling for hot and cold. You're going to look and see if a joint moves easily or is resistant. What is its range? Does it feel too stiff, or does it feel too loose? Is a person flinchy when you touch a certain area? Is it hot or cold? All of these things you start to think about when you're doing the general massage, because those will guide, along with the goal for massage, those will guide what interventions you do. So an intervention is something that you do. So these general things here during the course of massage, you do throughout the whole massage. But an intervention is only if it is going to challenge the body to adapt in relationship to the goal. So this thing called muscle energy technique, where you contract, relax, etc., there's a reason why you would do that. A lot of people are aware of trigger points or tender points, and that you might press on those or something. You only do that when there's a reason to do that. Maybe you're going to lift and pull and twist on the connective tissue because it feels thick. You wouldn't generally do that, but you have a goal that you're trying to achieve. So all of your so-called connective tissue approaches, those are interventions, but we assessed for that need up here. Same with fluid movement stuff. Now, we talked about these and whether or not there's enough evidence for it to be evidence informed back in chapters 5 and 6. So you might want to review that. And then just some step-by-step stuff here for you. So this is a do it chapter. Objectives, your key terms, the overview, the focus on professionalism, and that's just what I had talked about. There is a relationship between assessment and intervention. We are always assessing, but we can do an entire massage without ever doing an intervention. And the person will still feel like there has been value to the massage in the generalized response to that systematic approach to loading those tissues. So this is going to give you some guidelines on how to proceed with this. And Luke and I have some experiential systems that we will use in the classroom or on accompanying Zoom meetings that will go along with that. So this is familiar here. These are the 12 modifiers. So you learn how to use a method, a push or a pull, and then this is how you adapt to each client and how you might shift in relationship to the tissue you're attempting to assess. So very important. Here are your 4 evidence-informed outcomes, your 4 approaches to care. This would be your expectations, your ability to adapt, what the pushing and pulling does, or not this, excuse me, this is the approaches that you use. And then these ultimately are pushing and pulling. And then how we adapt what the then outcome in the tissue is, and then this is what causes the physiology to respond, so we get the shift. So read through these and think about them. We will be discussing these in the classroom, but pay attention to the language here and pair up the language to the pictures. And then as we move through here, you know, this partners on to the chapter we just finished about how we engage with the client, and then the positioning, which we learned in that chapter. Now we're going to get into the practicalities of each of these methods. So that's what this, you can squish something down, and then examples, or you can pull the ends apart, and examples, or you can bend something. When you bend it, you've got a pull here and a press here. So this is more of a combined load. And then a back and forth movement. And a twisting movement. Now you can combine these, but ultimately this is all you can do. You can move something, but that is a combined load. Okay, then we can be right on the surface or further down into the tissue. We can be on the back or on the hip area or at the bottom of the foot. We can be right at the edge so that there's some intensity to it or not. We can go towards the heart or away from the heart or back and forth. We can have very little lubricant and drag the tissue along with us. We can, or not, we can have a lot of lubricant and slide along the surface. We can go fast or slow or in between or mix it up. We can start at the head and end at the feet. We can start with them on their side and end with them on their side. There's a lot of variation here. So these are all defined and discussed, and I want you to know, I want you to be able to use these words and understand what they mean. So here's each method, and it tells you how to do it, and then there's a theory of effect. It's theories. We don't absolutely know for sure, so it's a given. There you go. All right, and it goes through and then gives you some descriptions on how to do stuff. Same with compression. And you can't just look at these pictures. You've got to use this picture as an example and find somebody that cares about you and wants to support your learning and bumble through this. Try to model the pictures. So a big part of the chapter is this. You can also get a big old hunk of frozen or bread dough or clay or Play-Doh and apply these methods to them and see what happens. That's a really good way to learn. This is a twisting action. The videos explain this really well. That's a compression plus a movement back and forth. Elongation, making something longer. And then it talks here, shows you how little you actually have to lengthen something to get an effect. It's not very much. So, you know, this is gradiated down to all the way to where we would scale. Oh, okay. So we only need, you know, this much more movement in something, or even that much more movement. Doesn't take very much change to make a difference. And then this paper towel here is explaining the idea of drag and working at the therapeutic edge. Pay attention to these perforations right through here. So now I am coming apart. So this is creating a tension stress. This would be considered an elongation method. And it is the stress now is affecting the tissue here. Now, if I slide, you know, so I've got a component of drag here. If I slide, I'm not going to get the shift in the tissue. These perforations aren't going to open up. And so this also, this is a pool noodle, shows you direction along the fibers, along the fiber direction, and then across the fiber direction. And we really should work more across than along, because the amount of load on the tissue is greater. That doesn't mean we don't do these glides with the fiber direction of the tissue, the muscles, but working across it, you're going to get an elongation here at the ends. You're going to get a compression here. You're going to get a bending through here. This also is going to elongate here. So you get a lot of sensory input into the tissue. So stretching, concepts of stretching are about elongation, and a little goes a long way. So here's some traction. This is pulling ends apart. And vibration is an oscillation or a shaking. This is a very hard thing to do, but this is where a piece of equipment or a tool comes in. There is value to localized or full body vibration. Body does respond to that. Same with percussion. Right now what's popular is something called like a Theragun or something, but it tends to provide that back and forth, or that quick or up and down, or that quick back and forth with the vibration. Shaking is underused. We're going to teach you to do a lot of that because it really can warm things up and prepare things, and it's a really good assessment. Rocking is more rhythmic than shaking. And the percussion I mentioned, the staccato, this is sometimes what likes to show up in movies or on commercials or something when you see massage portrayed. I don't use it a lot. Some systems use it more. Always make sure you stop and read the theory of effect, because that's going to give you a decision. It's going to give you information to make a decision on when you use something or when you don't. So always do the proficiency exercises because that's going to help consolidate the information. So this next section has to do with movement. And we talked about a lot of this in the chapter on joints in Essential Sciences. So go get that chapter and compare and contrast the content here. So that's chapter 8 in your Essential Sciences. And you will see the overlap here. So this, knowing what kind of normal is, And in that chapter, I'd said for a flexion, it's 90 and a little, and extensions are about 15, abductions and adductions and internal and external rotations are about 45. These are all movements that we would incorporate right into the massage. These are joint movements. Either the person is going to do it, which is active, or we are going to do it. And we're looking to see how close they are to this optimal physiological joint function. And this also is going to stimulate the joint and move the soft tissues around it. So all of these movements should be pretty much included in the massage. So practice, practice, practice these. Do them on yourself. Get somebody to lay down. If you have to, use a teddy bear or something. But this has to be embedded habitually so that you don't have to think about it. And then when you notice that something is non-optimal, that would make you stop and think and potentially make a decision to use an intervention if there is a good likelihood that the body can respond to that. Better for a joint to be a little stiff than too loose. Laxity is really hard to manage. So don't overdo the flexibility. So here are your various types of movements that I had explained. And you have to stabilize one end of the joint. And then you move. So usually the stabilization happens at the proximal end, and then you do your movement at the distal end. There's active resisted, where the client is pushing against you, active assisted, where you're helping them move. These are all both assessment and or intervention methods. So it gives you a suggested sequence here and some proficiency exercises to help you solidify the information. Now it's going to move into an actual intervention process that's commonly involved if we find that there is some stiffness, usually if there's some stiffness or lack of range in a joint, but it also can be used to temporarily signal a joint to become a little more stable. This is something we will show you in class, and the videos are very helpful with this. So you're going to want to read through this, see what you can glean by looking at the pictures and practicing those. Now, in chapter 9 and in chapter 10 in Essential Sciences, we look at the different types of contractions. And we've covered this in some of the overview chapters as well. Now it becomes part of an application. So we do need to understand what is isometric, what is concentric, what is eccentric, because what is an agonist, what is an antagonist. We have to have that language in place so that we can understand what the directions are here. So see if you can do this. See if you can follow these steps with a practice partner and make some sense out of it. And then when we are actually in the classroom, then we can compare how well you did with that. Anything that you can absorb and figure out on your own, you're going to have much better retention with. So there's a bunch of these little methods, and they can feel overwhelming, but practice helps. Practice helps. So this is kind of a main intervention area. We can help the body get back to a more functional movement, including breathing, by pulling these methods together. And they really do, you learn them better with the demonstration. So know that this is where we would spend some class time. Okay. As we continue on through here now in this chapter, now we're going to get into suggestions about how the massage is applied. For example, start general, maybe do 1 or 2 interventions, which would be specific, and then get general again. Start more on the surface of the body, then work down into the various layers, and then come back up again. Move smoothly from one body to the area, and that's one body area to the next. And that is where the general protocol is very helpful on getting ideas about how to move from one body area to the next. And then the idea of the full body basic massage, which is the crux of what we do. It is what makes us unique. It is what we do that nobody else does. It is the single most important skill set that a massage therapist has. Don't get too quick on the intervention idea. Get the full body massage down, and that will take care of most everything you'll encounter. This goes through and gives you some ideas about when you would use a various method. And now you've got a basic sequencing here that's supporting transition. So use this as a guide for your practice. And then right here it says use the general protocol. Then it gives you some ideas here about what are you going to do if somebody has body hair, or what if they are ticklish. And then what are some key suggestions for massage of the head and face and the neck and shoulder, and it goes on down through. So stop and go, okay, I am going to massage the wrist and hand. I am going to, just, you're learning in parts. So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at the key points, and then I'm going to go practice. You can use the read to feature. Have it read it to you. All the way down per body area, including abdominal massage, which is really important. Okay, then it's going to give you a proficiency exercise where you are going to try to come up with some protocols and how you would actually write down step by step what you would do. And this is a really good activity to help, like in your mind, how would you do a massage? You close your eyes and you go, okay, here's my client, here's my draping. Very, very good study skill to do that. Also, video, it's easy to do. All the smart devices, all your phones, they all have pictures and videos and all that on it. Have somebody hold the camera, prop it up, and have them watch. It'll watch you do that. Then you can review it and you can look at it, and it's a different viewpoint. You can really see what you're doing well and where you need to improve. Now, this next series of pictures is step by step, and it's similar but different to the other demonstration videos. So this is a good way, visual. This is very visual to help you set up that protocol and how to practice. Just do the picture. Now, for space saving, both sides are not always necessarily done, so you would have to naturally repeat on the other side. And so you can see, this is an important piece of information. You can see when these were filmed that I was still coloring my hair. And I'm not now, and I love it. So, okay. This just goes on and on and on and on. This combined with the general protocol plus the YouTube videos gives you really good learning points to fuddle around, mess around, play around, give it a try. Try something different. Pay attention to the various positionings. Forearm first, forearm first, forearm first. Look at how, here I've got my hands, but I started this with the forearm. We want you to get used to using forearm as much as possible. How you change your positions, whether you're seated or if you are kneeling. The different angles, the lean uphill. You know, here's joint movement. Do 1 or 2 pictures at a time. Just make yourself look like the picture. This is employing a muscle energy technique. Talk yourself through this. Pretend like you're narrating it so that somebody else could follow along with what you're doing. The narration is actually right here. Have somebody else read this to you while you do it. You need to get really good at side lying. Even though that's not still commonly used, it is best for body mechanics, and it's the most comfortable access to for positioning for the client. And we continue. Pay attention to the unique types of positioning here. This is an MET. It's showing you application of a push and then an elongation. How to position the body so that you could, whoops, very fast. How to position the body so you can, there we go. Let's get out of that. Access areas so it's easier for you. If it's not efficient for you, it's not going to work in the long run. You have to think about you first. Now, obviously, if this was a female, you would have the chest draping in play. And now we have a seated protocol. Same study suggestions. And we can't use a lot of gliding because we're working typically over clothes for that. And that's a good skill to have. And then here's a mat setup. You see here where we're using our lower leg, broad-based compression, and the foot. So this, as I've said probably 15 times now, this is a do it chapter. You've got to do it. You got to look at these pictures and you've got to practice it. So the video support is probably most helpful, whether it's YouTube or the ones that you find on Canvas related to directly with the textbook. And here are our questions, you know, that you're going to be on the NBLEX, there's going to be a lot of a client has a something and which method would be avoided. So you're going to have to kind of pull all this information together. Okay, chapter 10, the do it chapter. And then once we get that organized and we can do it, then we're going to start paying attention to what we feel and how it moves. Because you're not going to have to be practicing and working on getting comfortable with the draping and the positioning and where do I put my forearm and all of that. Now at chapter 11, this is where we start becoming massage therapists. That's exciting, isn't it? Okay, so you will be at about midpoint in the education now when you're looking at this, and we would be getting ready for the midterm exam, which is us evaluating, can you do it? Once we know that you can do these things without stumbling, then we can start to look at it in terms of modifying and adapting to meet the goals of each client. And you might find yourself frustrated that you want to intervene. You want to, God forbid, you're not going to fix anything, but you might want to try to trigger a response. And don't get impatient with yourself on that. The interventions are really quite simple once you understand this part. And remember, this is the foundation of what we do. This is the basis of a massage therapy practice. And then as we do this intelligently with a lot of thought and critical thinking, that is what makes you a massage therapist and can take that into massage therapy practice. Okay, ta-da.